Ask a Lawyer. Now I'm with Rod Smith, and we're going to be discussing criminal law. And Rod, when we think of criminal law, we think of hardened criminals that have been in the system forever. But I've heard you talk about cases where you try to prevent a young person or someone from becoming that caricature that we have of the long-term criminal.
Well, my background was as a prosecutor for years, and I have great respect for law enforcement. I represented them for years. So when I take a case, which I'm usually pretty selective on what I choose to get involved in, one of the first things I look at is whether or not this is a person I genuinely think I can help them. Is it a person that doesn't belong in the criminal justice system? If their underlying problem is drugs, there are places we need to get them. If their underlying problem is a lack of mental health care, and oftentimes that happens. People come in and they're suffering from depression. People come in and they're suffering from a diagnosed personality disorder. Those people need to get help. If not, if all I do is go over and try to make sure they don't get convicted on this particular case, I'll just get them back next week in trouble again. And that's not what we do here. If I have a juvenile, I certainly try to deal with juvenile cases kind of as a family. I like to get the whole family in and find out what's going on and what got this young person in front of the system.
When it's early enough to do something about it, and that age group isn't making good decisions anyway.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Obviously, we're just like everybody else. My first role as an attorney has to be to make sure that a person's rights have been observed, and that if the state cannot carry its burden or meet its burden, that the case is disposed of. But that's a relatively small number of cases. After that, it's generally an issue about what got a person into the system and what do we do to make sure that we present this person, this individual, not as a bad person, but as a person who may have made a bad choice or a bad decision. And focusing on that problem works very well. We're blessed in this community. We've got a state attorney's office and a United States attorney's office that they're manned by people who are people I've known in many instances most of my adult life. And so I like to be able to pick the phone up and make a phone call and say to someone, we've got this case, but this is what's going on in this family. This is what's driving this situation. If you have a young person who's involved with alcohol or drugs, getting them off is not my goal. Getting them off may work for right now, but getting them off is not my goal. My goal is to make sure that I get them this case disposed of in a way in which they don't have a criminal record and they're not back in the criminal justice system. And
they've learned their lesson and don't ever want to do that.
And oftentimes, and I used to believe this when I was a prosecutor, and I believe it more now, and that is that we have a community that has a disproportionately large number of people who are between the ages of 18 and 24. And what I used to always ask, and I still ask people, is do you want to be remembered for the stupidest thing you did between 18 and 24? Most people's answer is an affirmative no. And so I want to make sure that when young people come up here and they make mistakes, and they will, and they do misjudgments and make misjudgments, and they will, that we try to work with them, with their families, towards a disposition that leads them in the direction they came here to start with. They came here to get a good education and go on and be successful in life, and that's what we try to do. We also have a lot of cases now involving domestic violence and allegations of domestic violence, and it's a great difficulty. And unfortunately, and oftentimes those are enormously personal conflicts between people who are married, or between people who aren't married but have children together, between people who are dating and have relationships, and oftentimes by people who, both sides of which have strong emotional involvements in the case.
Elder abuse and things like that.
And we get those kinds of cases, and what you have to do is you have to focus, first of all, on what do I do to make sure the rights of my client were recognized and to the degree that my client is vindicated. Then secondly, if that can't be the case, what can I do to make sure that this experience in the criminal justice system is a positive experience and that they don't come back into the criminal justice system? There's some very fine lawyers in the criminal justice system who take different approaches to criminal justice. I talk with them all the time, and some of which focus solely on making sure that they try to get their client off. I do that too. But in this office, what we try to, both myself and the associates who work criminal cases with me, we try to focus on that first. But right behind that, our focus is really on the whole person.
What long-term approach for the family rather than a Band-Aid for today.
What can we do to make sure that this person, whatever went wrong in their life, now sometimes it's just a mistake. They shouldn't be in the system. Those are easy. But the cases we tend to remember and are remembered for are the cases in which people who don't really belong in the criminal justice system get there through through something that's not like they are the rest of their life, what can I do to make sure that their life's not ruined? And moreover, what can I do to make sure that they don't make this same misjudgment again?
Like drug treatment.
Drug treatment is important to us. Alcohol treatment is important to us. Making sure that we get people into the resources and the help they need, it's important to us. That's what we do. I'll quit doing criminal justice and criminal law if all I do is try to get people off for every act that they do.
Because you'll see them again next year if you keep doing that.
It's just not what I want to do. What I like about, when I came back in private practice, I wondered if I would be able to do this, having been a prosecutor so long.
Yeah.
I actually love it, but I love it because I take the same approach to it that I took before, and that is, what can we do to help people? And if we help them this time, that'll help them never be in the system again. And the criminal justice system's got all the business it needs.
Yeah. That's got to be very rewarding to take it long term and not just fix it right now and get somebody off.
That's what I want to do.
But you want them never have to face that again.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And we'll be right back.